And I really like to kind of just start off on the higher time frame as usual. And, we're going to start kind of on the monthly here. I'm going to turn off these indicators just so you guys can see a little clearer. And of course, I'm only going to focus on ES and NQ for this higher time frame one. Just because it's a little more interesting, of course, than, the other things that we have going on here. But let me kind of put this over here. Get rid of these. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. So welcome everybody. Glad to see a lot more people in here, newer people, I would say. And we're gonna start off on the higher time frame and then go down to the lower time frame, and kind of recap the session today. And I'll obviously go over some digital time theory stuff with you guys, even in the higher time frame here. I'll pop back on the yearly session indicator just so you guys can see what I'm looking at on the higher time frame, what I'm expecting, and kind of what I'm looking at towards the next draw on liquidity, of course, right? A couple things here to note on the monthly chart is we do have a very large wick here, right? We came down, left relative equal lows, and we actually dug into this down close candlestick, which I had mentioned will be an important area, and how we close, above or below this, wherever. I wanted to see where we would close on the month, in comparison to this low that we have here, this entire order block range. So there's a lot of stuff here when it comes to the higher time frame that I'll be keeping track of, and I'll be of course keeping an eye on. I mentioned how if we get a close below the MT of this candle here, or even below it, we'd see much lower prices, as order flow is bullish. And we can see here, based on the reaction this month, we can see we've respected these higher time frame levels here, and I'll get down to the weekly in a second. And so one thing to keep an eye on is how this month closes. Of course, we have 6 more days left for the monthly close, and what I really like to keep an eye on is the CE of the wick. Okay, so wherever we close, we're going to keep an eye on the equilibrium of that entire wick, as I like to, as ICT likes to say, but also, I myself, you got to treat some of these wicks like gaps. Okay, you have to expect price to head into a premium or discount, whatever your situation is, of that wick, of that range. So it's very important to kind of note those areas and these ranges, of course, on the higher time frames. Now going down to the weekly, I'm going to point out a couple things here. And one is, of course, this down close candlestick. We have an order block here in which we stabbed into. We had a lot of members in the community mention how hey, NR is, if we dig into this order block here, and we trade back above it, does that mean this order block is strong? Or because we wicked through this entire order block, does that mean does this still mean that this area is strong? Can it hold? Will this order block put in work? And they were all very good questions. Of course, it's a little rare kind of seeing a move like this into a down close candlestick here on the weekly chart, but we can see that this area was very strong, right? On the weekly, looking at the weekly time frame, we left relative equal lows. Of course, we know relative equal lows will be a magnet later, so that's something to keep an eye on here. Another thing to note is this weekly SIBI up here, and this little SIBI I have here is the daily one. So my eyes are drawn towards that for right now. I want to see if we can tap into this area here and see, if ES can take those all-time highs as well as NQ. Okay, so we can see that we closed right above the body of this candle, which is huge, right? We can see that this area is very strong. Same thing with ES. We dug into it, but we never even closed within the body of this candlestick. So we can tell, that these institutional levels are there, right? These are levels where, market makers, accumulated longs here. Of course, we can see we're pushing up to other liquidity and PD arrays. And so one thing to note here is we are in a BPR range, previous BPR, where we're wicking at, and we're wicking on, I should say. On NQ specifically, and I've noticed, of course, we also have a void up here, and I'll kind of get to that in a second, which is preventing NQ from continuing to push up higher here. Okay, and I will point that out on the lower time frame here in a second. But of course, the higher time frame, we have been targeting this void and these highs here, and of course, this is the SIBI that I was talking about. I'd really like to see if we can head into this range, but what am I looking at first, right? That's always what I like to ask myself. I would really like to see if we can get a trade into here, into this BISI, and then a continuation up higher. Now, why am I looking for that? Specifically because there is also an SMT. Okay, so we have an SMT here, right? We're looking at liquidity, and we're looking at SMT. So what is SMT? Of course, it stands for Smart Money Technique, and essentially it's when the market, depending on which correlated pair you're kind of taking a look at, we took this high here on ES, but we did not take it on NQ. Okay, so this is important. What does this mean? This means that ES is willing to push up higher and take that liquidity, but NQ is showing weakness. Now, what does that mean? Whenever you have an SMT like this, you're obviously looking at different PD arrays and liquidity. What's the next draw on liquidity? Within this swing low to swing high, what have we left between this swing? It's as simple as that. I feel like a lot of people complicate this, and a lot of ICT traders complicate it on the higher time frame, but you essentially want to look for swing lows, swing highs, premium discount. What is in between those, right? Between this high and then this low, we knew we were heading to some sort of significant liquidity targets, which was the weekly order block here, and of course this low here. So within this range, when we have this range, we are expecting price to possibly have some sort of retracement to a premium in this case, since we were looking lower, right? And within this, we saw that there was a SIBI here in which we pushed up on and then continued lower, right? Now we're doing the same thing. We have a swing low, swing high. That's what we're looking for. We're looking in between this range, and we're trying to figure out what liquidity is there to grab. What PD arrays are going to be prominent when we're looking at the higher time frame, and we're trying to figure out the draw on liquidity. Okay. So on the lower time frame as well, and I'll get to it in a second, we do have relative equal lows. We have a low resistance liquidity that has been engineered, as well as this SMT that we have up here. Those are all kind of confluence that I kind of look at, and they're all related within each other, and of course you want to keep that in mind, right, when you're trading on the higher time frame. One thing that I really like to do, of course, is use and I'll kind of zoom in on this real quick. We're going to take a look at the yearly session here for the digital time 3 yearly time fibs. Okay, and this again, this is going to come out soon. This works on Forex, crypto, and everything else. So we'll get that out in a bit. Just having a couple problems here and there, but it'll be out. Thank you. For those who are waiting, I know there's a lot of people waiting on the yearly still, but we are in the end of the year model, which is IMP9. Now, we're simply, just like the New York session, okay, just like Asia and London, time and price is fractal, and since we're focusing really on time here, we're going to dissect this entire interval up here at the end of the year. Okay, so how are we doing that? Of course, we're using the digital time 3 times the time fibs 1125 36 5625, and of course they're all in the digital time 3 ebook, and all the information is there for having the foundation of DTT. But what I'm trying to get to here is every single one of these, within these intervals, you can keep dissecting these intervals up, right? Okay, so I'm going from this larger one, I'm going to these smaller ones, and I can keep on going. But obviously you don't want to keep on going constantly. What I'm looking for is I'm just looking for injection of volatility. I'm looking for when price seeks liquidity. For example, I had mentioned August 12th will be important, whether it's to the downside or the upside. We want to see what happens after this date or during this date. Okay, the day after here, we got a really nice push up into and above this daily order block, and we closed that SIBI there. Okay, now I had mentioned how I wanted to see the MT of this order block here be traded into. Once we get a close above that, we're looking for this high and this void. And of course, I was still aware of that void. But notice here, on August 12th, we have that volatility kick in. right? Notice how we're trading within a range here. Okay, this is that range that we were trading in. Then right after August 12th, we have candlestick, little tiny one here, candlestick, and we eventually lead to that liquidity there. Okay. So let me read a couple questions here. Glenn asked, are you considering the close of today above 50% as bullish at all or not because of the SMT? So that's a very good question. This SMT here for me, especially since we've wicked at the void a ton on the 4 hour, if we just look at the 4 hour itself, I don't like these wicks here, okay? So notice how we're making higher highs here, but we're failing to continue higher up with ES, and we failed to take this high right over here. And then we displaced below, closed this BISI here, right? And we did engineer some low resistance liquidity here, which we did take out on this today's candle there, which was very interesting. So this is that low resistance liquidity. And just by looking at the 4 hour, Glenn, I personally, I'm not really looking for longs here. I'd want to see this 4 hour SIBI kind of hold. And the reason why I'd like that is, well, they've left relative equal lows here. I know that that's a target. We've disrespected bullish PD arrays, and we have a higher time frame PD array here, which would, for me, is more of a point of interest to go continue up higher. This SMT could just simply mean we get that retracement here. Okay, so push up into this, and then a continuation down. Then finally, we can get some OHLC confirmation here, whatever it may be, and then continue up higher to these highs here, and then the CE of that daily SIBI, and of course these higher prices up here. Okay, but that's kind of what I'm looking for ideally here, right? And I hope that kind of makes sense there. Just by looking at the 4 hour, I can kind of get my bias here, right? That's why, if you can't really get much in the daily, you got to go down to the lower time frame. Liquidity trader, you're asking 29th of July to January 6th as, are you talking about IMP9 model? So IMP9 is from July 25th all the way to January 2nd, if that's what you're referring to. Hunt here asked, Anar, would you say for someone that's never heard of or looked into ICT at all, these things are really hard to understand and are more advanced things, and just because we see it work all the time, it seems simple and obvious? Well, that's a really great question. I mean, when I first got into ICT, it all clicked for me immediately. I did a couple other things. I looked at a couple of other things, and ICT just shows the true way and the true reason, or I should say, how price is booked, right? As he says in his words. And what I really loved about it is how time and price is used in ICT concepts, right? And you're saying you keep trying to show friends that have more experience, and they're like, I don't understand, I have to see more, but I feel the same as you, right? There's some people who it will take some more time to understand, and ICT concepts are something that are much more complex than the traditional retail concepts that you see in books and indicators, MACD, RSI. And of course, there's a lot of strategies out there that will definitely work. But ICT is simple yet complex at the same time, if that makes sense. It just makes sense. So, yeah. Not necessarily. You're gonna have to ask Ivan why he named it that. I don't remember why Ivan named it IMP9. So you're gonna have to ask him in here. He's in here, so. But yeah, so I hope I kind of answered your question. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense for me, Exactly, yeah. That's kind of what ICT did, right? He kind of made it simple for all of us, and he's mentioned there's a ton of other things where he hasn't released, and he's keeping it for himself and his family. So I'm sure there's a lot more ways to kind of look at all this. But the stuff that he's given us here is beautiful. You know what I mean? Any good tips in identifying turtle soups? The best thing I can say is look for lows, swing highs, but specific lows in a higher time frame PD array or liquidity pool, right? And of course, you got to combine time with that and OHLC. So The best turtle soups are confirmation with open high low close candles and SMT. And what Hunt said, that's a very good thing there. Look for a fair value gap created into a key level at the end of a run. And then you could look for an inversion, as Hunt just mentioned, and SMT and OHLC as well. All right, I'm going to halt on the questions here. I'm going to get back to the little recap here. I know I'm going a little deeper into this stuff, but I think I haven't done one in a while, so this is kind of great to see. So going down into the 4 hour here, just like, kind of how we were looking at. And just on this 4 hour chart, from what I'm noticing, along with this SMT on ES and NQ, okay, it's already giving me enough information on the 4 hour. There's another thing that I'm noticing here. And what I'm noticing is ES is very, very close to this high, and it's already inversed this 4 hour SIBI that it has created, okay, right, compared to NQ. So it would be really nice, and what I would really like to see would be ES taking this high again, OHLC candle on the 4 hour, and then we continue lower, and NQ will stay below this, tap this void one more time, and then continue lower here. What does this give us, guys? It gives us an SMT right here, right? That's what we're looking for. Okay, and this would make sense just from a DTT perspective. Let me go back here on the higher chart. If we look here, right, we know we've spent this entire week kind of in this range up here, right? Thursday was that really nice move down. We have a little retracement. I see low resistance liquidity here. I really wanted to take it out. That's what I'm looking for, and what my preference is. Now, we were talking about the higher time frame here. I dissected this entire IMP9. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit more precise here. But I want to dissect this model here now. Okay, so this over here, I just want to see what times are going to be important within this time frame here. And what do we see, right? We see that Monday, okay, Monday, August 26th is going to be an important day. And this is an important day for a lot of stocks as well. We can see volatility kick in at this area over here at this time. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a Sunday to kind of build up that sell side on the open. I want ES to take this high, but NQ stay below it. And I want to see an injection of volatility to the downside here on August 26th, right? That's how I'm going to use that this time here, okay? And in between August 26th all the way to September 2nd, what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for this PD array to hold here, this daily to hold. And then I want to see if we can get some sort of a setup here. Let's say we disrespect this. What am I looking for next? Right? We do have a fair value gap all the way down here. And let me point that out. My bad, guys. Give me 1 second. We have another BISI right over here. Okay. Now, do I want price to head down here? No. If price is truly bullish, it would hold this area here. Why? Because we've already had a really nice inversion. This was a daily order block. We completely disrespected it. We don't need to come down here anymore. Okay. Almost treating this as a breakaway gap. Right? So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to see. All right. Especially with this void. This void has been putting in work. I want to see a move down and then up. So down to go higher. Going into a discount or equilibrium of a certain range and then continuing up higher. That would be the best. That would be beautiful to see, I should say. Okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it on the higher time frame. Of course, we do want to see the CE of this wick be hit on the hourly. I'm going to be interested in that 100%. So, yeah. And let me see here. I want to kind of point all this liquidity out. You guys see this on the hourly, right? This is kind of a trend line that we're looking at, but all this is engineered liquidity. There's relative equal lows here, very relatively equal. Okay, that's going to be a really nice draw on liquidity. And that's why I really, really would love to see an SMT here with ES. I think it'll solidify my bias on the higher time frame. Okay, so that's how I'm using the yearly session. That's how I use the higher time frame times. I hope that kind of makes sense. If you guys have any questions, ask in the chat and things like that. We'll always be answering in here in the Discord. on Saturday might get a nice new week opening gap. Are you talking about for this week, Capital? If we get a new week opening gap for this week, I think that would be pretty interesting. I think it'd be pretty cool. And let me see here. Would you expect Monday or Tuesday to print the low of next week? That's a very good question. And that's kind of where I'd have to see how Sunday opens. But ideally, what would be really nice to get is have Tuesday or Wednesday be that low, essentially. So we kind of continue down Tuesday. Wednesday, we have a little manipulation here, or even Tuesday, as I mentioned. And then we start seeing a slow grind up. That's what I would really like to see. I am looking at the CE of this daily fair value gap, so keeping my eye out on that. All right. But yeah, so let's dive into the New York session here for today. And let me kind of dissect all this real quick here. So what I really loved about this week is we had really nice AMD, okay, and it was very clear. So from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we had really nice accumulation, okay. Then we had this little manipulation, and then we had distribution here, okay. So what I would really like to see is I want to see the next delivery for distribution here down to this sell side and down into here, okay. And notice we went from this void here, which was a new day opening gap. We have this entire void here. There's nothing here, okay. We went from here to the current new week opening gap, which was absolutely beautiful. Traded under it. Then from that new week opening gap, pushed up into the SIBI. Then pushed right back down into the new week opening gap. And now we're pushing up to kind of take some of those stops out. So be aware of this 4-hour fair value gap here. I'm going to get rid of this just so it's cleaner. But let's take a look at today's New York session. Okay. So one thing to note here is, you know, we leave a lot of sell side. I mean, we did take some of this out, but there's low resistance liquidity all over here that was engineered during Asia and London. You guys see that? And it was all wiped out, essentially, right? That's what they like doing. Really nice displacement here. Ideally, if you saw this, you would like to go for longs, right? Okay, there's a 1 minute fair value gap there. But in this case, you know, we tapped this void up here, and then we just completely got knocked back down. So why is this? Why is this happening here? Well, there's multiple reasons. We have the higher time frame SMT. We are in a 4-hour SIBI, and of course we just touched this void. Okay, and then there is another SMT here today with this high here on ES and NQ. Okay, very beautiful SMT. And then if you guys take a look, clear, you know, pay attention to this because this is important. Right, we have a really nice fair value gap here, okay, during Judas, which is from 9:55 to 10:20, okay. Notice how we touch the void, right, and then at 10:20 again, we get a really nice push up, take this high out. When we take this high out, we know that there's an SMT, and of course, we are bearish on the higher time frame. We want to see lower prices, okay, based on the higher time frame narrative. That's simply it. And look how beautiful this Model 11 price action is, okay, and delivery, I should say price delivery. So after this high is taken with this SMT on ES, we continue to push down. We create a little tiny SIBI right here, and look how beautiful this is. 10:34, a time that happens every single day on Model 11 for digital time theory. We get a really nice wick into here, okay. We get a nice wick, and then we start continuing down to the sell side here. Now, what's the next time interval after 10:34? 10:44. What happens right after 10:44? The high is in at here at 10:44. And then what happens? 1, 2, 3, 4 large candles, summing up to a total of around 181 points. In about how many minutes? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 minutes right after 10:44. And of course, you're looking at any of these times for an injection of volatility as well. Okay, so right after that, we trade into this higher time frame PD array here, right? Which is that, I believe it is the 4-hour, if I'm not mistaken, right? The 4-hour BISI that was previously mentioned before, that was mentioned during this stream here. And then at 11:10 is your model 110. So what do we expect at this time? Either one, continuation, okay, or two, we can expect a pivot and a reversal to some sort of a discount or a premium price. In this case, we went back all the way up to here. And notice how we're using this 1 minute BISI here, right? We're trading back to it almost like an inversion, right? It is a balanced price range, okay? And notice how we're using it right over here, okay? At 11:10, right after that is that push up. There is a beautiful inversion here. You could have taken this as a trade. And then we push up into this area. There's a SIBI there, all right? And then, you know, we get to 11:49. Okay, we get to 11:49. We trade into this PD array. There's some PD arrays here. I'm just going to mark, okay? And of course, we are short, right? We've disrespected this. So we're not really looking for longs. We're looking for a nice reaction and then a continuation down lower. So from 11:49 to 12:35, if I see, a lot of the times 11:10 will be time distortion, right? Some chop. In this case, we did get a pretty decent move, but what is happening during model 110? We're getting a push into a liquidity pool or a PD array. In this case, this old PD array, this BISI that was turned into a BPR, we completely disrespected it, is being used now. Okay, that's it. It's as simple as that. At these time intervals, you're looking for a pivot, injection of volatility to some sort of liquidity. All right. Just based off of this inversion we had here, you can expect price to kind of, where's price going to go? Ask yourself that. What's the next draw on liquidity? And of course, you know, during all this, I'm looking at the 5 minute, I'm looking at 15 minute SIBIs and all that stuff. I need to keep an eye on the higher time frame, of course, still, right? And I use 5 minute and 15 minute a lot for OHLC confirmation. Okay? And then here, which is very rare that happens, 11:49 to 12:35 is usually your time distortion that you have. Okay, in this case, we got that continuation that we wanted. Volatility kicked in after 11:49, right? There is a lot more time distortion here, okay? Then after at 12:35 for model 1001, we really get that push down, taking this low out and into this new week opening gap. And we know that that new week opening gap is there, right? And almost done here, guys, almost done. Just to kind of look at all these intervals here, okay? We can see 13, we pushed into this 1 minute BISI, right? And then we continue to push up higher to where? There are these true opens here. We have the CME open, which is right over here, and then the 830 opening price, okay? And then we just have, this becomes our time distortion here, right? Going into model 11. And notice how right at the end here for 1409, which is the end of model 1001, we have a lot of, just choppy price action. But look what time, after what time we get that move down. There's a move down into a 15-minute BISI. This is the trade that I took with JD, by the way. It was on stream. He was looking for this exact move down into this BISI here. Okay, and notice at 1447 we get that move down. And all I'm looking for here is I'm looking for some sort of inversion, and I'm looking at root candles, of course. Root candles are hidden liquidity. In this case, we have 953, 1110, and 1330 root candle. Okay, 1330 and 953 are one of the strongest root candles in digital time theory. Also, notice how the 1110 root candle very closely aligns up with the 830 opening price. A lot of confluence here. Stacked root candles were hard to get through here, but pushed down below, and then we reclaimed those root candles. Little immediate rebalance here, and then we just completely launched here, right? This close right here gave us that confirmation for price to go higher, right above those root candles, and we eventually did take this high. Traded to the 1121 root candle here, wicked on it, traded above it, went all the way back down to which price? 953, 1110, and also you have your 930 price there, or sorry, 830 opening price there, okay? And then we bounce off those root candles and the true open again. I'm telling you guys as well, if the 830 price was not here, these root candles would have still been used, okay? Absolutely beautiful. Today, honestly, the time was used, the root candles were used beautifully. Really love it. And one thing I forgot to mention, when we push back down here, okay, for model 11, we traded right to the 830 opening price, and then your 953 root candles right over here. Okay. Any questions? I know that was a lot of talking and yapping, but if you guys have any questions, please ask. Oh, wait. Could you show where you entered and took profit? Yes, of course I can. Let me actually pull my post up as well, just so you can see the video. I will show you here as well. This is my execution, and then we can take a look and see where I entered. So I actually entered on this candle here at 1505. I had one contract, and then added one more once I saw price kind of, pushing up above these root candles here. When I saw this inversion, there was a little inversion here. I also knew we got to the 15-minute BISI, and it was towards the end of the day, which is near 1514 and 1545. Usually we can see an explosive move either before or that time. Okay. And once we traded into that 15-minute BISI and we got a really big wick, I was convinced, right? And I'll show you guys that here. Beautiful 5-minute close here. OHLC confirmation for me. 15-minute wick was absolutely beautiful. Gorgeous. And I was confident in the trade, and I, was waiting for it to go up. So my take profit, there's a couple things. Let me show you. My stop was right below this low, and I believe JD had this exact same stop here. He was, I think, break even or something like that. My take profit was this high, but I took it a little earlier around here just because I wanted to get out. I was happy with profits. My partial was taken at the CE of this SIBI here. Okay, I took one off because I just wanted to take profits. Because a lot of the times it can reject these areas and take its time. I wanted to secure some profits there. But this was my risk to reward ratio here. And that was the trade. Just by using those root candles in the close. Any questions here? And look at how beautiful this is. 1545, guys. I forgot to mention this. 1545, we get a perfect wick into these root candles and then a reversal right after that time. Random, right? Completely random. Alrighty. Does anybody have any questions on all this stuff that I went over? I know it was a ton, and I apologize for, rambling on for so long. But any questions you have, drop it in here, guys. Of course, of course. See you, Maddie. Thanks for stopping by, brother. Of course, 6. What's a quick way to anticipate SMT? That's a very good question. The quickest way, there's no quick way, but for example, let me just show you this. That's a very good answer from Hunt. Don't anticipate, wait for it to happen, right? I guess essentially what I like to wait for and what I like to see is how price is reacting with, PD raise and, which pair, for example, is, or, in this case, ES or NQ. For example, I can see ES is heading higher towards this high while NQ is falling behind. So I can assume that we can possibly get an SMT here. That's what I would like to see. Also, based on this higher time frame SMT here, we could definitely see one more run on this high here. And even if we run this high here on NQ and we immediately reject, there's still that SMT that's there. Does that make sense? So I basically wait for it to happen. I am looking to see which one's respecting PD raise, which one isn't. And even on the lower time frame, I'm doing the same exact thing. I hope that answered your question. Or that makes a little bit more sense. Do you live trade? I don't live trade PM just because I'm not able to, but Ivan does live trade in here. He does it 2 to 3 times a week. He does it for the quant members, by the way. And I'm also looking to, I have been, I only did it 1 time, 2 times, but we are also live tape reading Asia session as well, and I'm trying to, find some more time for that. But we do get live streams. Some live tape reading in here. Ivan specifically live tape reads, by the way. He doesn't live trade all the time, but he does, mention what he's looking at and stuff. Oh yeah, midnight opening price is the key, guys. It's one of the strongest indicators, I would say. My bad. I think somebody asked the same question as well. Um, Give me 1 second here. Any quantum bundle promo code soon for new users to join? So, real quick, we will be creating a promo. At the end of, I'm thinking of the, Ivan. What are we thinking of? Uh, I have to talk to Ivan about that as well. But we did have a sale recently, and we are looking for promo codes to add some promo codes soon. Okay, sounds great. So September 9th is what will the date that we'll be setting for. Hey Hunt, since you've been super active, brother, open up a ticket. I got you because I know you were asking. So I got you. I got you for a sale because I know you asked multiple times and you were waiting. So make sure you cancel your current one right now though, so it doesn't renew, and just message and just open up a ticket, and I got you. Oh yeah, I'm hyped for that, Ivan. The 15-second models. That's what's up. Yes, so this will be for the quantum bundle exactly. So this one will have all the indicators. It'll have the yearly session one will be dropping as well. So we're gonna have that. We're gonna have that in. Yeah. So this one will have the New York, Asia, London weekly and yearly. That's the bundle that we have. Yeah, there's a lot coming, y'all. There's a lot that we've had and a lot more that is going to be coming. So we're hyped for that. Hunt in the Discord. We have the support tickets. So just click on that if you see the support ticket channel. Yeah, I'm hyped for that, Ivan. I'm really hyped. More data is what we need too. That's what's up. All right, y'all. I do have to bounce out of here. So as you guys all know as well, I'm gonna be on a little vacation. So um, for Quantum members, if you guys have any questions, you guys can still ask. I'll probably be checking here and there. I will not be having any recaps, live recaps, or recorded ones. I will be chilling for that week. But yeah, so just a little heads up there. Other than that, Capital, appreciate you. Of course, anytime we'll be doing more streams in here as well. I'll probably be doing it on Fridays, to be honest. I think it's a really good time to do it in here, end of the week. But much love to you guys. Thank you guys for hopping in here. And I will catch you guys later. Much love.